The new MCAS results have been released, and Boston has some bright spots among the district public schools and the charter schools. One example is the former Gavin Middle School in South Boston. Currently in its second year is a turnaround school known as Up Academy. Unlike other turnarounds in the Boston Public Schools, this one has been assigned to an outside organization called Unlocking Potential, or UP. We'd like to welcome as our guest from UP, the CEO, Scott Given. Thank you very much for being with us, Scott.
Thanks, Chris. That's great to be here.
First of all, talk about how is this school different from what was there before?
Great. So the school has remained inside the district. It's become what's called an in-district charter school. So in this restart model, we as an outside nonprofit organization have come in and really reset expectations, elevated those, changed a lot of the staffing at the school. We've brought in a host of new teachers from all across the country and from within the city of Boston. And we've really focused on the operational details of the school as well. Make sure we've crossed all the T's and dotted the I's.
Is this a total purge in terms of teachers?
So the approach that we take is we want to find the very best teachers out there to serve the students in this who have been in this underperforming school. So we invited, really the best teachers out there in the country to apply to the school, including teachers who had been at the Gavin Middle School. As it turns out, not many of the teachers at the Gavin decided to apply to work at the new Up Academy, but we did really open the process to those teachers. But we had 4,100 applicants from across the country apply to work at the school for 60 open positions last year.
Talk about the students, because I guess one thing, are they all from South Boston? I don't think they are, but what about the mix of these students?
Yeah, the Gavin is a very interesting school with respect to its demographics and location. So it is located in the heart of South Boston, but approximately 80 to 85% of students come from neighborhoods other than South Boston. So approximately half the students are from Dorchester, a lot of students from Mattapan, as far away as Hyde Park as well.
I imagine you've got some English language learners, maybe some students with learning disabilities in this mix as well?
We do, and I think important part of our model as we restart a school is to retain nearly all of the students at that school, including English language learners and students with disabilities. So last year, during this first year of the turnaround, more than 30% of our students were classified as special education students, and more than 30% of our students were classified as English language learners as well. So,
you would expect in a school where you're trying to do a turnaround with many of the students who were there before, that is the students who didn't finish the last grade, it's going to be kind of tough because they were used to a different way of doing things, isn't it?
It is. It's not easy work, and we knew that it was going to take a lot of planning and a lot of trust building as well with families and with students. So one of the first things we did way back in the 2010-11 school year, before the turnaround even began, was we sat down in the living room of almost every single one of the families so that they could get to know us, get to know what this new school was going to look like, and we could get to know them. What dreams did they have for their own children as well. And I think once we established that trust, this turnaround effort was a lot easier.
People, when they see a spike in MCAS scores, they say, oh, they must be teaching to the test here, but what are you doing?
Yeah, so there's no one magic bullet, that's for sure, and certainly upping the academic rigor is an important part of our work. We're certainly not teaching to the test. We are really teaching to very rigorous academic standards that are in place across the state of Massachusetts. So, but everything matters. I mean, it's certainly what we're doing in the classroom, but it's also those extra hours of tutoring that our teachers are putting in during our extended school day as well. So there's a lot of different things that are coming together to create the type of academic gains that we're seeing.
So I guess what I read between the lines here is that the students who might be struggling with their subjects, they're getting more time, more attention?
They need it, and they are. So, a traditional Boston public school is a pretty short day, 6.5, 7 hours at max. We extended the day. Our students are in the building as early as 7:30 and are there as late as 4:30 in the afternoon. So that's a long day, and if you structure that time just right, you can really provide differentiated support for students who need it the most.
What about the climate of the school? How has that changed?
Yeah, so you can have the best instructional quality, you can have the best curriculum in the world, but if you're not doing that within a culture of excellence and achievement, it's not going to get you very far. So we had to reset the culture to one that was very positive, rigorous, and joyful. And we did that, again, through a lot of ways, but one thing we did is the first week last year, before we got to math, before we got to reading, before we got to science, it was student culture. It was a student orientation where we talked about where are we trying to go? Where are you as students trying to go? What's out there? What are the possibilities? And what's it going to take to get there? And I think that was an important reset. And then, of course, there are increased behavioral expectations as well. Here's where the bar is. And if you exceed that bar, here are the great things that are going to happen. But if you don't exceed that bar, there are going to be in-school consequences as well.
When I visited the Excel Charter School in East Boston a few years ago, one of the things I noticed, that this was also in middle school, is at that age, students, they don't want to sit still and keep quiet all the time. It's not about curbing bad behavior, but you need to give them some ways to behave well, but still be, 11, 12, 13-year-olds.
Right. Middle school students are curious, they're full of energy, and they want great ways for that energy and curiosity to be expressed. So I think the best middle school teachers that I've seen really pique that curiosity and find ways to allow students to release that energy in a productive, professional way inside the classroom.
What about the way these teachers work together? Are we just having one teacher who's responsible for everything the class does, or are we going to have some kind of interweaving of this teacher plus that teacher to make sure you get things better?
Sure. So at Up Academy, students actually remain in the same classroom throughout the course of the day. And different teachers rotate in to teach those students. So you have the math teacher who comes in for 2 periods. You have the English teacher who comes in for 2 periods. You have the science teacher who comes in for 2 periods. That in itself requires immense collaboration between those teachers. And we've actually structured our school schedule so that if I'm a teacher at Up Academy, I have at least a couple of hours every day to collaborate with my colleagues. But 1 day a week, I also have 4 straight hours with no classroom responsibilities, so I can do my planning, my collaboration, my grading, and really work together as a team to serve the students in the very best possible way.
Of course, if this is a model for success, the next question is how many other schools can you do this in? Because you look at the money question on the one hand, but you also look at the possibility how many teachers would want to have work under these conditions, even though this sounds like a rewarding assignment.
Yeah, I think it's rewarding for sure. And I think what's important to note from a policy perspective is Boston Public Schools really invested no additional dollars this year to help turn around the gap in middle school. It's cost neutral to Boston Public Schools. From a financial perspective, from a district perspective, this is a very sustainable long-term way to improve schools. From a talent perspective, I think we have great initial signs that there are many, many teachers out there that want to be part of something like this, both with respect to the level of satisfaction we're seeing from the team that we have at the school, but also just the sheer number of applicants who wanted to join this team when we first started the turnaround effort.
Well, congratulations, and thank you very much for being with us.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for the time.
Okay, that was Scott Given from Unlocking Potential. We'll have more news in just a moment.